Hello there and welcome along. Today we're going to be talking about the pruning of soft fruit bushes here in the garden, and if looked after properly, red currants, black currants and gooseberries will produce fruit for decades and be really productive. However, you must look after them properly. In today's tutorial I'm going to be talking you through how you not only train the plants to make sure it looks after itself, but also how you maintain it over every single season to keep it young, fresh and vigorous and producing plenty of good quality fruit. As always, you're going to need some basic pruning equipment, so gather together your choice of secateurs. Obviously these need to be clean and they need to be sharp. With larger mature plants you're going to need a good set of loppers, because we're going to be removing some large stems from the centre of these plants, and I always find it useful to have a kneeling pad on hand because I like to get up close and personal with the plant so I can physically see what's going on. These plants need proper maintenance over a long period of time, and to begin with, a lot of people will tell you that a lot of what I'm going to tell you isn't particularly important and is not particularly useful. With fruit and of course with roses, we want to make sure that we're training the plant to grow in a particular way, making sure that it opens up the center of the plant, it keeps young, it keeps vigorous, and it grows in an outward formation, naturally creating an open bowl or goblet in the shape of the plant, which allows for lots of light, lots of airflow, and of course lets the sunshine in there to ripen any fruit that you have. We also need to keep the plants young and vigorous, and we do that on a three-year rotation by removing the older stems right down to the ground and causing the plant to produce nice, strong and vigorous growth, which next year, the year after and the year after that produces lots of strong and healthy fruit. We're then going to go over the plant and make sure it doesn't have any dead, diseased or dying wood, as we would do with a rose, and we're also going to make sure that we remove any crossing stems. The last point of contact for the actual pruning of this particular plant, which we're going to be working on today, which is the red currant, we're actually going to shorten the stems back by up to a third, just to make sure that the plant is focused on producing good quality fruit. There's no point in producing loads and loads of fruit that the plant will then collapse under the weight of, or that the plant can't actually maintain. So we shorten the stems back, selecting an outward facing bud wherever possible to keep the plant in some sort of discipline and shape, and make sure it's only producing the fruit that we can really maintain and get to a good high quality standard and make sure it ripens at the end of the season. Hi there. Right, here we are with the red currants that need to be pruned, and you can see this lovely piece of a nice, strong, healthy, vigorous growth here that I've got in my hand, actually caused down low by a cut that I made this time last year, causing the plant to send up this nice, strong, vigorous growth. Next to me in my other hand is actually an older stem. You can dictate for this by the colour of the bark. It's much thicker, much duller. These are the kind of stems that we're now going to be removing from this plant. We want to be removing one in every 3 stems right down to the ground. Same technique as if you were growing gooseberries as well. One in every 3 stems taken right down to the ground every 3 years. That means that no cane in the plant is ever going to be over 3 years old, keeping them young, fresh and vigorous and producing the most amount of fruit. And you can see this particular stem, although it is trying to produce growth upwards from here, we're going to be taking it right down here, and I'm going to show you that in a second. There's a nice strong bud here that we're going to be cutting that back to. Again, we're going to be hollowing out the center of this particular plant, causing it to grow outwards in that lovely goblet shape if we can, and make sure that it's got plenty of light and airflow in the center. I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. So here we are. You can see that the cut I made this time last year back here, which was what caused the plant to produce this lovely, strong and vigorous growth from the very base I'm now holding on to. This particular stem I've cut back on several occasions. I've got a really lovely strong bud just here. This cane is now around 3 years old, and it's time to remove it completely. I'm going to take it right down low with my loppers and remove the stem from the center of the plant. This seems to look a bit drastic, but what this is going to do is cause the plant to produce much more of this strong and vigorous growth from the very base. And once again, you can see I've got a stem just here as well that has a nice vigorous cane coming off of the inside of it, and another one on the outside. I'm going to shorten that one back now as well and remove that completely. Once again, getting the plant to focus its energy on producing young, strong and vigorous growth, which is ultimately going to produce much more fruit. So now that we've removed those couple of older canes from the centre of the plant, causing the plant to obviously produce lots of vigorous growth from the very base, We now want to make sure that we go over the plant and we do our normal maintenance. We want to make sure that we're removing the dead, the disease and the dying and any crossing stems that are going to rub together and cause points of infection or damage on the plant. Luckily, I don't have any of those and I've got no dead wood here whatsoever. But what I do need to do is just go over the plant now, as I said at the very beginning of this, and shorten these growth tips down by around a third. And what we need to do is we need to just have a look at the stems, find a nice strong outward facing bud, and with our secateurs just shorten these canes back just by a little bit. This just takes a little bit of the whip out of them and stops the plant producing too much fruit and arching down towards the ground, where the fruit is only going to be damaged. It's going to be damaged by water, it's going to be eaten by the slugs and the snails. So we just need to tip this growth back nice and tidily, finding an outward facing bud, a 45-degree angle cut, and just shorten these back ever so slightly. You should end up with something that looks fairly well balanced, clean and tidy, and the plant needs to be maintained like this every year for the rest of its life. If you have any questions whatsoever on the pruning of soft fruit bushes like red currants, black currants and gooseberries, don't hesitate to drop me a comment below, and don't forget to like, follow and subscribe. I'll see you all again very soon. Take good care now. Bye bye.